Well, it's August 6, 2021, and I have broken in Elon here. How many hours? I've got 18.1 hours on Elon so far. It took me about a total of 1.5 hours to dig out the pond, and there's the pond right over there, pond 6, and there's about 1/4 of the dirt left, a little less than 1/4 of the amount of dirt left over there. And I'm trying to save that dirt until I move more stones down to an area that I'm going to now, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Just going to turn Elon around here, and you may notice there's something different about Elon. I broke him in. Give this a little bit of fuel here and go a little bit faster. My side mirrors right here, I had to remove because I smashed them. I had a dead tree fall down, hit the hydraulic cylinder on the boom, which is the first part here, and came down and shattered the mirrors. And I'll show you some footage of that, if not in this video, in another video. And one of the things I've learned, now Bumblebee, the PC27 MR2 Komatsu, which was the excavator that I had previously, was about 7,000 pounds without the buckets on it. And it was considerably smaller than Elon here. Elon, well, for example, it took me about 1.5 hours to dig out pond 6 entirely, and it would have taken me at least a day, maybe a day and a half with Bumblebee, partially because the bucket is so much smaller, and this is a full 36-inch bucket. And you can see limbs are grabbing a hold of this. So the other day I came down here and had to take out a few trees just so that I could get Elon down here comfortably. And so the access roads all have to be widened, because this is wider. It's over 18,000 pounds without the buckets. And it's a much larger machine, and I absolutely love it. So one of the things I've been doing is the area where I broke the mirrors, I had to go and get a lot more stones from the stone wall and bring them down to fill in some of the softer spots to extend the access road. So there was that tree there, that poplar there that's laying there, well, that was a big tree that was here and was leaning for a few years. And I took out several other trees in here that were dead as well. That tree actually wasn't dead, but it was an issue. And I've got a lot of dead trees to take down, because some of the dead trees are decomposing so badly that they're a potential serious hazard for any piece of equipment or a person walking around down here. So here it isn't too bad. I already took out most of the dead ones. There's still a few more. And I opened up this little drainage swale here. It's narrow. That isn't what it's going to be in the future. And I cut in, so right now we're heading to the lower Beaver Dam where there's an access road. So I had to widen this one. And we're not on that access road yet. We're on an access road coming down. But one of the things I had to do, now there'll be a big pond I'll put in here later, but I had to open up a drainage swale that drains the lower dam down into here, which can go across this access road and go to a third dam. So right now I'm just going up to the area that I already widened quite a bit. This is some of the nice mucky soil, really gorgeous looking material down in here that I dug out of that drainage swale there. Now, of course, I've been using Hound, the Komatsu CK35-1, so you can see my tracks down here. But I put in a little drainage port here to help prevent, and I'll widen this out quite a bit, help prevent the damage that we had this last winter with washout. So one thing I've had to do is come in here and widen out these access roads, and I had to take a few trees out up ahead here so that I could make way to the other piece of property we're buying. I've just about got this like an idle, so I apologize for me stopping here over and over again. Several geese out in the upper pond right now. So this is all widened here. And below this is all stone, and then I use the sand and gravel mixture here from so I had to dig out this whole area. There were a couple of trees in here, and it's really mucky, really deep, thick muck. And like this is a blueberry bush that's right down here in the muck, and I've got I'll be putting more stone on top of that spot. So I'm going to extend this road up to another point where there's another pond on the new property. The property owner is going to continue to live in the house on the property. She's been a friend of ours for years. Really, really nice lady. And of course we got this bugger here hanging. There we go. I'll move those in a couple of minutes, but one of the things I really love about Elon here, this is a Takeuchi TB290 rather. Certainly having a much larger bucket, much greater reach. And you can see, you may be able to see there's water right there just below the muck, because the dam wall is right over here, just on the other side of that foliage there that you see. So I'm going to be bringing a lot more stone down in here. And this tree right here, I already cut off the base of it, but it's hung there. Of Of course, it's real wobbly here because I don't have the blade down yet. There we go. I haven't had Skydio 2 drone out yet, which the last time I had was late last fall. Well, actually, I'm going to come back here for a minute, and I still got some spots I'm trying to widen out here on the road. And when I dump rocks over the sides, it takes so many loads because it's so deep here, and I can only, my bucket on Hound only holds about 1 yard, heaping full of rocks from the stone wall. And I dug way down below with Bumblebee, down below the water line there, in order to get the muck and material you may remember from last year when I was building this area. Okay, that's good. All this wood will decompose over the years, but for right now, it will help to hold some of the rock and some of the fill that I've put in there. I can never tell just how the angle of the camera is here when I'm filming with my helmet cam on. So there's one more limb that's hanging up there. There we go. It's a little more muck or sod wrapped around. So this is a blueberry bush. So before those trees grew up, this blueberry bush was in a field here long before the beavers moved in and built the dams. When my kids were young, they used to come back here and pick the blueberries, the strawberries, the blackberries and all. But they didn't get quite this far back. Up there they used to do that. So now that we've got more property, I need to really have more road access. The person that we're buying the property from, we took her on a ride down here, and she was so delighted to see what we've done with our property. She's super excited about us purchasing what's been her homestead for years, so that we continue the project. And she still has a horse, and so she'd like me to break some trails through here besides having a road in here as well. So it's going to take me quite some time to do this, and I actually have to find the best route through here, which may not be the easiest thing. And you can see, I don't know if you can appreciate it ahead of us here, you can see without the stone there, I sink right down into that muck. And it's the same thing as if I were just using the sand from digging out the pond. You know, it's gravel, but it's not real nice gravel. High sand content. Now in our pond 5 at home, the pond that I've been working on all this time, the one that's been leaky, well, there's a large banded water snake. And I think when you look it up online, banded water snakes are about, I think they say about 32 inches. Well, the one that years ago I found one that was well over 36 inches, probably close to 40 inches. And I brought it back down here years ago because we used to swim in that pond. And well, I saw the one about the same size, probably not the same one, back there you know, last week. Then when I was out here bringing the stone back and forth, there was a very large one, probably close to 4 feet long, really big diameter. I didn't see its head, but I certainly saw probably about 18 inches of it, but it was about this big around, and he was sunning himself right over there. Now, I like snakes, but these banded water snakes, I'll tell you, they can be pretty aggressive. You know, our garter snakes, you know, maybe milk snakes can be a little aggressive too, but you know, I guess I never worry about the milk snakes. I go and pick them up. Well, you saw when I made the video about removing the Who culture pit mounds. Was it the year before last, or was it last year? I can't remember. Those of you that aren't retired yet, time flies. Once you're retired, you have a hard time remembering just what day of the week it is and what year you did what. Or at least for me, that's the way it is. I really don't want to disturb the roots here very much. I just want to make sure that I can cover them up some with those stones when I bring them down here, and these will all be easy to cover. And I don't really want to drive up in there because I could get stuck. And of course I got an old dead cherry right there. So I'm going to come down with Hound, bring some more stone in here, and at least work my way up a little ways, because this is a little bit of a hill up. It drops down over there. There's standing water right over there. So that's what I'm going to do. The monarchs have been all over. I got to do an update on the gardens. The monarch butterflies, but the hummingbirds are all over the scarlet red runner beans right now. You'll see 3 or 4 at a time, and as they fly away, you see 3 or 4 more other ones. So it's been awesome. I was hoping to do more videos, and I have shot some footage, but a lot of it's just boring. Me digging. You know, the only one that wasn't boring is when the tree came down and smashed this. And this machine, taking out those stone walls, I'll tell you, what a dream this machine is. It does an amazing job. I've got to widen this out right in there, so it'll take quite a few loads of stone right there. And I may take a couple of the tree trunks and put them in there like I'm doing in here. And root balls. I'll be taking more of the root balls that I've been cutting off and putting them all along in here. And that way I won't have to show you how wide this is and see where my track is right down here. And it drops off a good 6 feet. And 2 mirrors being damaged. I'll take that any day to dumping this down into the pond, because we'd have to build a road down here in order to get a crane down in here. So this was all washed out this winter, and I brought lots of stone down here in the springtime. I got to get this boom lower. That's the other thing. Not only is it wider and heavier, but it's also much taller. And I don't want to grab my hydraulic hoses or my electronics for the quick coupler, snag it on any of the vines or the branches. It's real easy to do that because you get busy digging, and that's why I'm being real careful and going slow. But in short, I love this machine. I'm not used to having air conditioning in any of the equipment, but it sure is nice having air conditioning. So you might be able to see a little bit better I gotta be more careful. I just brushed that mirror up against that small oak. I've got several trees that I cleaned around and that I'll be transplanting in different parts of the property. Like a couple of oaks back there which just brushed up against the mirror. The tree that fell was so decomposed, it's the crown where the roots attached to the trunk of the tree, no bark on the tree at all, and that's a good kiss of death if you don't know that you could bump into something. And those, when they're that decomposed, the top can just fall off and land on you. And I didn't feel too bad because the top was already sitting alongside of it and leaning up against the tree. So I used my bucket to just sort of like sweep that, to sweep the limb, the top that was leaning up against it, away. But as I was pulling the top away from the trunk, I never actually touched the trunk of the tree that fell on me. But as I was sweeping away that top of the tree, which I don't know, probably a good 25 feet tall, as I got it about vertical, the top snapped off of the top, if that makes sense. Maybe about 15 foot of it. Sorry, here I'm trying to make sure I don't swipe any mirrors on these trees. And so the top, so I was moving the top away, but this top fell off, the tip of the top fell off, and it brushed against the far side of the standing dead tree. And slowly that tree came over towards me in one piece, and when it hit the hydraulic cylinder up there in the top of the boom here, sorry about this, I've got to get used to the boom being off center. In Bumblebee, the boom came right directly off the center of where the cab is, but the boom is actually in the center of the tractor, just that this is a much larger tractor, so the cab is on one side, the engine, the hydraulics, and all that's on the other side to make it much easier to get to, which I love. But as I pulled that top away, and the tippy top of it grazed up against the back side, the far side from me, of the dead tree, that dead tree started coming over, it landed on the hydraulic cylinder, which made it snap and break. I wouldn't say in half. See, I gotta trim this oak tree here. But when that broke, the top half came down right over here by this corner, smashed both mirrors. Oh, just waiting for some baby toads to cross here. Come on, little guy. Okay. So as that top snapped off of the tree, it caught the two big mirrors that used to be right there and crushed them. So I thought that it had come through the top or the front, because glass was all over me. And maybe I'll show that in this video. If I don't, I'll try to make sure that I show it. But so Elon has been christened. Not exactly what I wanted to get. I ordered the replacement mirrors. Now this Excavator, to me, I thought was white. Down there I knew it was gray, that I knew was red, but this is called light gray. Maybe you folks can tell, but I can see now that it really isn't a white. But I gotta find an inexpensive source for the white so I can paint up the scratches that it did on the mirror handles or holders. If you notice, it kicks up in speed. I've got a trigger here in my right hand, so I'll kick it in lower speed so that I can turn it. The other thing I love about this are the width of these tracks. This is very, very nice. Turn things off here.
Have a second wave last
Nope,
summer.
wrong button. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here are the mirrors. A little bit crunched up. Had quite a bit of glass to clean up out there. And a little bit of straightening to do here. The main bracket that mounts onto the Excavator is right here. A little bit of paint chipped off and all. I got to see if I can get some of this light gray paint. I ordered some new mirrors for here to hook on, and we'll see how everything works out. Okay, we'll take a quick ride over to the area where I have been breaking down the stone wall and where the tree crashed on me. some of the access down here. We ordered a new big wood chipper, and I'm really hoping to get that before the snow flies, as if I can handle. But you'd see all this material that I've got down, and I'd really like to chip up some of these vines, but I ended up widening this out a lot so that I could get Elon in here much more easily. So last year there were mounds. All these areas had big mounds where my brother had a friend push up. This was all a big field, geez, like 3 decades ago. And so I dug out a lot of them and saved a lot of the trees. So some of the mounds were broken down, but the big mounds were here. You see there's still part of one. You can see the dirt pile was put up against this tree, this maple. But this is very similar to the tree that I've got to take this one down. So this tree is dead here completely, and it's decomposing. I don't mind taking down dead trees, but these decomposing ones. This one I'd like to drop that way, but you could see the top of this maple here blew over in a windstorm, and it's holding it there. And then I've got this maple here, the 2 maples here, that top will catch on it. And if you push it with the excavator, or you try cutting it with a chainsaw, what it's going to do is it's going to break someplace up there and come down on top of me. So I think I'm going to have to take out this small maple here and hope the damn thing doesn't come down on me while I'm doing that. So here's the part of the tree that fell on me. This was all glass all over the place in here. So that far end of it is where it hit the mirror. The rest of it is all top, and parts I threw over in this area. But the trunk was right about in here. And so I took that tree out, and I've been digging out. You could see this is one of the stone walls right here, and I've been taking out some of the stone wall because I need it. And see this maple's right on top of that. I'm leaving that for right now because it does have a real good root system there. But I'll end up taking that out, and unfortunately that'll be some firewood, and I'll work my way down. Last year I took all this stone wall here out, but I'm going to try and smooth it all out. The trees that are in decent shape, that really aren't on big mounds, I'll be trying to smooth this all out. But I got to get rid of these dead ones, these decomposed dead ones. They're just a real big hassle. So there's nothing holding this root, and you can see this is the base of it here, of the trunk, and it was just sitting there and just fell right over. The darndest thing. All of this was part of the same tree. So this is a lot of the stone. I've been working my way through, pulling it in, scooping it up with hound. It makes it quicker and easier. I can just come down here real quickly, grab a bucket, and then drive to the excess roads that I'm building around the beaver dams. And you can see more of the piles around here. So this tree grew right on top of one of these piles here. So that's how long ago it was. And I've got more dead trees and more piles and more stone piles as well. And then up there I've got a whole bunch more piles to take out. So I've got lots of damage from the 2003 ice storm, where lots of these tops have been broken, and then the trees have split, and you get embedded bark. And then when we get our next ice storm or a good heavy windstorm, the windstorm doesn't bother this area too much. But one thing I've got plenty of is rock, so this is all road base. And I'll dig a couple more ponds for road surface. So fortunately we got quite a bit of stone here on this property. And I'm going to use just about every bit of it. Some of this I was planning on, like our chimney in the house, you know, going ahead and building a stone wall around the house itself as well. But I don't think I'm going to have enough stone now that I'm making access roads through swamps and around beaver dams and all that. There's a couple more pieces of mirror there. So this is the spot where Elon got his christening, unfortunately. And I've got a lot of decomposing trees that I've got to take down. I like having standing dead trees for the insects and for the woodpeckers. I think there's another decomposing one. But even a tree like that, if it snaps off, that could come down and do some damage. And depending on what the material is, like on the hound, that really has lots of extra protection on it. Where the excavator, it's got tempered glass. It doesn't have Lexan, doesn't have polycarb in it, like a thick plexiglass or anything. So, time to get back to work. And it's, you know, a lot of the times what I've got to do in these places is I've got to take down trees, and when you're in a cluster of trees like this, it's a bit of a hassle. Like I've got a dead tree right up ahead of me here, and I probably should take that out before. And the top is pretty dead up there too. I don't know if you can see it. So yeah, and then I've got another part. The top of that tree is right up against that maple alongside of it there, which could come down and fall on me. So, because it's sort of leaning this way. Yep. Damn it! Well, just broke a window. Oh, it's a mirror. 2 mirrors. Damn it!
Is right up against that maple alongside of it there, which could come down and fall on me. So it's sort of leaning this way. Yeah. Damn it.
I got glass all over me here. I should have just gently pushed it. So that's what happens when you mess with old dead trees. Man, oh man alive. Well, it could have been much, much worse. Yes, it could have been much worse. Well, I got to replace 2 mirrors right off the bat. Dang it. And those mirrors were quite handy too. So I'm going to have to go and get some trash containers so I can get this glass picked up. And wow, that is something. Man, oh man alive. Well, the bracket's bent. This arm looks okay. That one's bent down a little bit. But both mirrors are destroyed. I guess I can't ask for anything better than that if I'm going to have an accident. I think that's the best thing that could happen. So when you get in these tight locations, and that's the top of the tree, and I probably should have not worried about that top coming down and hitting on top of something because I was worried about the hydraulic hoses and all. I probably should have just put my bucket right up against this, the main trunk. I had no idea it was so rotted right there, and then it came right down. But that's a stone wall that I want to dig some of that out. You can see I've been digging down there thus far, and well, I think I'll stop yakking and go and get some stuff to clean this up and go from there.